I don't know the history really, and I was never that interested in it until it was suggested to me that it's somehow relevant. But I understand the philosophy. Templars, Templars represent the dead. We honor the dead. Whether I'm a Templar, I don't know the secret handshake. We've never met. But heretics, like the people that use force rather than rational logic to usurp human kingdoms, they've always just robbed people, bamboozle them, and hide behind the city guard. I don't know what he's talking about. Well, the city guard works for the king there, and maybe your skin's a little darker, you get a little bit of a dialect, and now you're beggared. You come to the city guard in poverty, and this guy got all this money. What do you mean he stole it from you? So when some flat earth wizard comes to town pure as the driven snow, silk lined pockets and gold coins for the wenches, and takes your village over from the second biggest house in town, and takes you for everything you're worth, everything you got, and then maybe a couple of your kids on the way out of town. When someone denies the children of the rightful inheritors of the land, when you deny someone's birthright in order to usurp the kingdom, the Templars are not picky. They're not here to sell it to the highest bidder. This general direction right here, first do no harm, call them terrorists, blood drinkers if you want, but first do no harm. You ain't a goddamn doctor. I forget which book it was, Kings or Samuel. He sees the angel of the Lord hanging out under a tree, and the angel of the Lord makes a deal with him. Well, see, that guy was not just some dope peddling magi from the far end of the Silk Road. See, this is the Bible now, so it says it was an angel. It was an angel, and our reality is derived by the authority thereof. I'm trying to rewrite the Bible so you understand that the angel's authority was a matter of moral integrity. It's not something you only take seriously when you need something. You're better off dead than coming back to shame or embarrass that angel. The interpretation of the will of the gods, the authority that conveys, is based on philosophers who would readily suit up and come take it if it was justified. But these men spent their careers debating one another on what their interpretation of what they observed to be true. It wasn't like, of course, there were pontifications on what we should, how we should impose our will upon the people. But the main question was, what gives us the right to rule this place? The Torah and the New Testament, for all intents and purposes, were written in the Greco-Roman world. The Quran claims to be an Abrahamic faith, but it was written in the devil's playground by one guy who remembered some stuff. It wasn't really the the idea of not slave raiding your enemies and claiming their wives as trophies and selling their children to traveling Bedouins didn't really appeal to the powers that be. But I'm not here to kiss your ass. I'm letting you know, like, it didn't fit, so I checked it out. I didn't like it. Buddha and Thor. Solomon and Thor. Christians don't like it when you make a comparison between Jesus and Thor because he was a peaceful man. He flipped out on some bankers one time, but that's because they were desecrating the temple. However, he made his living with a hammer in his hand. My name's Smith. I don't know if that means illegitimate bastard where you're from, but I was raised by the Jacksons. I view the Jacksons illiterate bastard. Taking a dive for you, rapist with a space program. Ultimately, it comes down to how would you like it handled if roles were reversed? When your flock is for sale and somebody that don't want to, I mean, I was a soldier. I would have made it. I was working on becoming recognized for. Once I learned my trade, I enjoyed it. Took my bird down. I didn't know what to do, but I was given instructions, so I guess I'll try it. There's too much politicking, you know. The military is the closest. I mean, that's the real. Those are your knights, and if they're not good boys, it's up to them. It's their lives that are on the line. But you're the model that you are insisting is now set in stone. If you apply that, if you run simulation plainly, apply the model where one tribe after another is decimated and their children sold off for the pleasure of the people who are in a race to generate the most money. Pretty sure that's where we came up with exterminating all the 500,000. Why 500,000? I mean, there's plenty of room left over, but kind of a lifestyle that those 5,000 is anticipated to lead. Probably hiding underground, adapting to the darkness. Ring a chime every day. Let the children come and present themselves. Yeah, the bombing the abortion clinics thing. I think I can. We're not the terrorists, because first do no harm, or you're not diplomatic. But I think the practical motivation for that would have been like you're inviting evil spirits. You're not just gonna like sell virgin sacrifice. We don't back our currency, and we're not going to war for you to sell promiscuous sex and fatherlessness and act like abortion is the answer as long as you're making money, because medicine's not supposed to be a for-profit venture. Yeah, you want money because your sovereignty is going to invest that in the expansion of the empire, not so you can go snort coke off. I don't know. I'm going on and on about I never sold cocaine. Like the Drug Enforcement Administration, your job back Homeland does not have the basis for their prerogative to decide whether, watch you do your job. FBI is not the only outfit on the planet that's allowed to enforce smuggling. National Security Administration, like, if you're not a participant, like, well, you only identify threats from outside the country, okay, so you're not liable at all for any of this monkey business. I want to believe the truth is out there. It's just, we just want to rule you out because you just happen to show up around the same time. But like the FBI, needed a solution for a problem we identified. And sometimes people are presented with a choice between going to work for the government or selling drugs. Opportunities aren't exactly plentiful, but for those of us who love it, take it seriously, and feel that the rightful and truthful, practical application of the principles which we agreed to do whatever is necessary to. I know all those years I did give in to darkness and frustration and despair, and I said a lot of things that were just spiteful. If I had known someone was trying to play me for like some kind of arrangement or whatever, absolutely not. I don't need no special favors for the cops. If somebody overheard something they thought they could get away with it, I'm paying for that. And if you are, we don't need you. This is why I got the impression that the Jehovah's Witnesses are like just faking it, trying to provide some kind of justifiable mistake for the United Nations that will rip us off and then leave us to, it's called rob you, rape you, blame you. These people think that raping a government agent under sedation represents, like, a little kid doesn't know. A little kid can't be a government agent. A little king is not a princess or a prince. They're a child. A prince is someone who can consent with understanding of the implications of the binding contract he's entering into. You're not going to hold a 2-year-old responsible for the massacre of his own tribe and then act like you got tired of him. And that's why automatically it's France. France is a lot of responsibility for one government. If you're going to chop Gaul in half and act like the Germans can't have any, maybe there's more than France can handle. Paris and Bretonia represent the Gaul. Paris obviously represents Troy. Ireland represents the Iron Age. You wouldn't know what whiskey was. You'd still be pitching Greek fire at each other for us. Oh, we just can't reconcile Protestant dogma with Catholic because of Catholic dogma. Well, maybe you got St. Andrew on one side, St. Patrick on one side, driving on right, driving on left. There's two sides to every coin. You got to have a little duality. But we're all Celts. We adopted the Saxons. Wouldn't take no for an answer. Syria is now a Christian country, and I have it on good faith that Lebanon will also enjoy the security of the Iron Dome, because you guys are unreasonable. I would like, for myself, an orchard and a distillery. There will be a library. May as well make it a university. Princeton. Probably skip the plantation. I use Italy, Greece. Because I'm an ecumenist, Langley. I'm not a one-trick pony. The Russians say there's only one holy and apostolic Catholic Church. The Romans may beg to differ, but it's getting invaded by the Muslims and not knowing what to do about it. Got them cut off to begin with. So how do we guarantee the throne of Peter? We got a new world hope. The people live here, humans. The question you ask is, how do we keep France in control of the throne of Peter, as they have been since the 8th century? That's the first right. Basically, Charlemagne strong-armed the Pope. I don't know if you've heard me tell this story before, but he wrote a letter to the Pope, stuffed it full of gold nuggets and precious gems, and the Pope's reply was basically appreciative, but the guy named Norman was getting read a licking any kind of Latinized script, so he went around and said, look, this is my name, and it's the Pope's name. And the explanation given was that because the Pope acknowledged he existed was proof enough for the Vikings to follow, because they want to be human. I think more than likely the wizards portrayed it as a holy writ. You must take all the lands and castles and deeds from the rightful inheritors of the empire. That's why they call it the Holy Roman Empire. See, the Roman legions who received land in exchange for their service were not just the only guy in the neighborhood with a sword. They're the only guys with mineral rights. But Islam treats humanity like a currency. It says peasant Dark Age empire. Goddamn right, go with the Russians. But no, I'm Irish. I'm saying, no, I'm not racist, but I'm not the one that made up the rule about little blonde kids call sex. What are the Revolution and the Civil War, World War I, World War II, what do they all have in common? Certain parties trying to guarantee peace on behalf of God, bailing miserable. Like, it looks like maybe South Africa could use a hand. Turns out Gandhi was not Hindu, so the submarine. And we all like peace. You know, sometimes Protestants don't take no for an answer. It's part of their religion. Protesting won't do you any good. But you got to look at the Catholic Church as a spiritual, purely ecclesiastical version of the Roman Empire. But we don't invoke divine right to build a road through your stupid peasant village. We marry the prince. The church builds roads by conducting the rights of humanity, including marriage. You want to change the definition of marriage? What's next? Sex? Sex is when a penis and a vagina. Marriage. When you're welding, you join two pieces of metal, some flux, and it works. It supports weight. It lasts. You plug something, plug a light into the wall. Can you plug two male plugs into each other and expect light? Expect it to work if you turn around? Now, you obviously have to put a female adapter in there. So, man, in a Judeo-Christian tradition, holiness, meaning not sinful, not in question, comes from being someone who's contributing to the church. Marriage is between a man and a woman. God creation will not bless an unholy union with new life out of nothing. You can go implant a whatever that you could grow in any test tube and act like, oh, man had a baby. So what? You're saying you're God. Alright, so you're going to be the basis for our currency now? That's why religion includes science. But if there's a patent which is offensive to just plain rational, I want an absolute, final, living scientific authority to decide whether or not the solar system is geostationary, or if we call it solar for a reason. Who represents the CIA is supposed to represent the currency, and it's not supposed to just be like some kind of Muslim take a dive, like, oh, knees up next to your ears, waiting for your turn. But if corporate got a hold of that around the same time the NSA showed up, the NSA just wait for orders, because so far I'm not impressed. We're not affiliated. Now, when I was 3 years old, a bully came to my preschool, and it wasn't like there was any kind of commitment. Like, she's nice to me. I like her. She's nice to look at or whatever. And she enjoys eating honeysuckles off the vine. And I think we're going to be friends forever. And this kid shows up and takes her. It wasn't a man of words. He just elbowed me out of the way. He's a head and shoulders taller than me. Find out 30 some years later that's the same guy. But he wouldn't take no for an answer. There was no negotiation. And I mean, he's 8 years older than me, or he's 5 years older than me. He's 8 years older than the replacement body snatchers. But yeah, I mean, if your basis for authority is derived from lying to people with morals about whether that's the same person or not, just because you can take a picture of it, like, I say we find whoever started it and throttle them. And the watchtower, like the guard tower, represents Rome, and Jehovah's Witness, JW, blames the Jews. Who do we know that's against both of us and only us? So don't play Muslim games, win Muslim prizes. If it's not legal, it's not the law. So if there's a religious assertion and it's protected, I mean, why wouldn't it be protected by the Vatican? Ultimately, it has to be anyway, right? But Islam is growing, feeding off the world's most powerful republic, because we represent a consolidation of all Europe's hopes and dreams. From using America as a platform, they can launch campaigns against every flock in a civilized world. And by the time they're done, it's going to be a real problem. It's going to be ugly. So my, joke about the elite being blind and pale cannibals, it's not impossible. Look what they're trying to do, puberty blockers and the chemocurrency. Rather than cut Texas in half and force Houston to work for water, I think we should probably diffuse the situation in Hollywood and assert a currency worth going to war for. And our investors got to be able to trust us, not only to win the fight, but to be able to defend it in a rational arena and as a threat to Islam. See, we have the Olympics for purposes of whether or not we settle this diplomatic dilemma, an impasse, through contests of skill. And that's, not directly the reason why they attacked the Olympics, but that's why it's not outside the scope of their assertion. We already have a peaceful mechanism for diplomacy. It's them that don't. The church builds spiritual roads which increase prosperity and provide for those less fortunate, and all these things that an empire simply can't be trusted with. You're not going to tell me imperialism is bad and then take money from a country that doesn't recognize a distinction between church and state. I mean, it's a revival of the imperial cult. only in corporation form. The only reason it existed long enough to do the damage it did was because the church didn't have warriors to go and prove it. And I returned, and I saw that under the sun, the race is not to the swift, nor bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, but time and chance happeneth to them all. Why are they looking at me? Yeah, London's not. They don't have to leave, do they? Is that a condition that why they're there in the first place? I don't know. Maybe Harry and Meghan should come be the king and queen of Hollywood. But in order to be worthy even of that, we have to assert something worth fighting for about our currency instead of just being so loathsome that everyone will invest in it, just giving us to somebody else. Because Islam, I don't know if you noticed, giving away gold bars at the airport, talking about, yeah, Israel's out, we're going to take Greece, we're going to take Spain, and I'm looking at Texas, and I'm like, if anybody don't have a beef with me, it's Texas, and I don't know what you went and did to prove that wrong, but trust me, there's no reason God is not angry at me. I made a drop at the Alamo. Who got that? Anybody? Whatever. I'll tell you about it when I see it. But I mean, who decides that I can't sue the government, for instance? Isn't that the corporate way? But you're not going to do it on my behalf and act like I'm obligated to go and take a cut or whatever and learn to sing and dance and suck dick so you can get away with child molesters. I mean, this is what I do. It's the thing. I study religions and I rescue people who aren't quite dead in situations where there are potentially a lot of them. I've never actually put it to practice. I know how it's done for purposes of whether or not Homeland Security was a motive, a factor in my decision-making process, because I already know they contracted infrastructure with Walmart, and I don't know who you think the AOL, Walmart, Mogadishu, all goes back to India, Pakistan. You guys act like you can say, I died, so you can go and follow up diplomatically, but whoops, nobody told me. You want to say that believing in an eternal and omnipotent God, I don't settle for your version, that the current model, that mine's wrong, so, or that if I believe in it so much, then I could just wait for my riches in heaven. Because if I didn't believe in that, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did. Had to accept my imminent death on numerous occasions. I don't have to prove it every day until it doesn't matter. So anybody reasonable, and I don't know if it's a chain of command anymore, it's just a food chain, but I never turned against our military, and JAG has a right to follow up on that, and I mean it should be in a reasonably sanitary fashion, but I mean they waited 15 years to try to whack me before I knew anything about it myself anyway, so it might just be an exoneration. But if you don't let me report to IG, it's I obviously don't classify as a whistleblower. So why am I still OTF? Because you don't prosecute spies? Why? You can't fund your TV spot without them? Can't reconcile freedom of religion with certain parties' corporate slave raiding cult? We don't have to protect that. It means peace. Why would we go to war for it? And what is our currency ultimately backed in, if not our overwhelming and decisive ability to build a road where nobody wants one? War is not a racket. It's not stealing our technology on a false assertion of moral superiority so they can bludgeon us with it, get us spun on a stupid witch hunt. Islam might work for the individual. It might last long enough for them to live a normal life and die before they see how it pans out. But when you're making an investment in currency, I mean, trust me, I'm in Jackson. You're not getting the currency here when we're done. It's going to be Jackson. What legal, have you had the powwow yet? Figure out what kind of challenges you still have at play? Because I know this guy, the only reason he's still here is because I can't get a hold of Washington. I don't know, you think I'm supposed to just solo suicide mission against a brick building full of stupid deputies? But I mean, Babu or Facebook or ISP or Walmart or Rawlerson, or all of them have that already. Are you intercepting, like, if the NSA only responds to threats from outside the country, are they receiving the stuff that's supposed to be coming to me? And if so, at Babu, said, this is what we got, or does Trump posing with him absolve him of converting our currency to bankruptcy-backed child molestation and bioweapon? I'm pretty sure he's not. I don't think, because the only law against strafing and cluster bombing Washington is Geneva. The guy I'm talking, the chief, the sheriff to which I referred, you just have to see where he came from, check his his history on record against that of Sheriff Hinch from Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana, circa 2000 or 98. I doubt he was already a sheriff by about the time he made the video, but if that's not him, why? Even if you looked at the video and looked at him, you wouldn't be able to tell. Why is his son showing up at my front door in a local county uniform? Is he still there? Did he die? Did he die around the time as Khashoggi? That's why I was trying to get a hold of New York. This is my caper Langley. And now I'm acting just as a citizen. I have the training and stuff, but I'm not in your chain of command. Anybody can mockingbird the internet. If you were giving me orders, why would we have a Afrikaner? Why would we renting out Kennedy to an Afrikaner who can't even? He's pumped. And you're not going to play suicide magic, chaos magic with me, and then blow up your own thing. Like, it might be a rule book for your strategy, but you lose. The bearded lady sideshow, pretend to be a big top for the benefit of anybody who gets uppity. They had a certain leeway, a sovereignty for getting away with doing whatever was necessary on that fateful day. But that fateful day was back then, and the guy who was here then and was here until 2016, he got here in 92. I just happened to know about it. I wouldn't have found it. I wouldn't even have suspected it was it until after I crashed at Blackwater and came home. I got stupid people. But I'm supposed to be threatened by this outfit, threatened by that outfit, because somebody's going around snitching. But not Blackwater. I'll take Blackwater. As a starting point for if a grown-up investigates this thing, it turns out to be worth some money. Blackwater's illegal. It's not claiming to be the government. You're not fascists just because they have more guns than you. I mean, if you raise your right hand to defend the Constitution, all enemies, foreign and domestic, the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion, so fascists don't. Fascism would be a threat to the Constitution. More importantly, fascism makes their, interpretation of the day mandatory for all. Everybody has to bow to the stupid false idol or whatever. This guy says, and it's like, why? Where did he come from? Oh, well, he poisoned the well and sold us security until we couldn't fight back. He's the king. It's not a basis for authority rising up and slaying your oppressor, as long as you're kosher when you're done. But there was an emergency. I had to find out what was going on, so I went and did it. And I'm crippled, but I did it. I don't need another emergency to motivate me to do something in my life. Stop threatening people. Speak to Washington.